In this video, we are going to go over exercise number 1 that is in chapter 2. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go in and look at our Data 2 folder. Okay, in this example, or exercise number 1, we're going to follow along in the manual over here on the right, and on the left we're going to have project-wise, and we'll also have ORD up here in this location. So we're going to kind of go back and forth between the two. So Route 54 alignment is what we're going to create here, and it says here we're going to open up that Data 2 folder, wherever yours happens to be, and we're going to open up the terrain file. By opening the terrain file, we are going to set the location for ORD to know where to get files from. Okay, once the drawing opens up, I'm going to slide it over just a little bit where I can still see the manual, and I can see ORD. Okay, so we have opened the terrain model right now. So this is the area that we're going to be working in, Route 54. It's going to come down through here when we create this. So we'll take a look over here in the exercise. It says now that we've opened the file, we're going to create a new file named civil geometry underscore and then the job number, and we're going to use the 2D seed file mo.design seed 2D. Okay, so in open roads we're going to do a file, which is going to open up the backstage here, and we're going to do a new. Okay, we're going to do no wizard, and by opening up the terrain file, it should put us back in our Data 2 folder, which is what we want. Okay, the seed file, as you can see down here, it's set for that 2D seed file that matches what we have here. Okay, so what we're going to do is just going to name this one civil geometry. And then the job number, J5P3181. So just double check that it's here and here. Then we'll click OK. And it will create that new file for us, and it'll ask us to check in the terrain file. So we will do that when it asks us to. Check in that terrain file. Okay, so we'll check it in. All right. The next thing that we need to do is we're going to take a look at the reality modeling geographic coordinate system, and we're going to bring that in. Okay, so that is underneath up here at the top. We're going to go to reality modeling, and in reality modeling we have geographic area out here underneath the home tab. So we're going to look at the home tab, go out here under geographic and click the only option there, geographic coordinate system. Right now it's set at none. So we're going to, there's a couple different ways you could do it. You could go pick from a library, or if you know a file that already has it, which our terrain model is in the correct coordinate system, so we're going to do it from a file. So we're just going to left click on from file. We'll get to the right Data 2 folder, and then there is the terrain file that we just opened and looked at. So we're going to select that one, open that up, and then that should set the correct geographic coordinate system for us. Okay, so we can close that down. Now we're going to reference in that terrain file, and the reason we do that is so that we know we're drawing our Route 54 in the correct location. So where that's located is back up under Open Roads Modeling. Okay, then we're going to go back to the Home tab here. Okay, and then under the Home tab, we got the Attach Tools. If we do the down arrow in there, we'll pick on References. Okay, the reference that we're going to bring in, we're just going to do a Tools, Attach, and we'll see where project-wise takes us. Takes us to the right Data 2 location. I can see I got my terrain file here. I want to go ahead and select it and click OK. We always have live nesting as the default that comes in, so if you don't want that, you can change that to no nesting. we'll bring that in. Okay, as we slide down, this is what we're going to try and create. Okay, so if you are working on this project and you have the actual manual, you might want to tear this out of the manual or take it out of there so you can refer back to it. I'm going to close this reference dialog. We'll do a fit view, and we can see that it is in there. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. It's going to come in here and kind of turn and rotate according to this. So basically think about that as a turn 90 degrees to the right. Okay, so we're going to be looking in the horizontal geometry toolbox for different things. So that's underneath the open roads modeling again, and we've got the geometry tab, and then we're looking underneath horizontal right now. So here's horizontal geometry toolbox, this location. It also, after we expand that out, we're going to be going over here to the feature definition toggle bar. Now that's going to open up this dialog that I already have open on my screen. So to get that to open, we're going to come up here underneath of the design standards or standards, and that's going to be the feature definition toolbar. So it's named something a little bit different than when you bring it out. It's named a toggle bar out here. It's named a toolbar in here. But that's the one that we're trying to grab, feature definition toolbar. Okay, so that'll pull it out. That'll allow us to pick our different feature definitions. In the manual, it has us pick geometry scratch. Now, if you know that you're doing an alignment, in the old version in Power Geopack, we would set geometry scratch because it would always go back and forth between the GPK and this file, and it'd be a constant back and forth. In ORD, we don't use a GPK for anything, so you could just go out and actually pick our MoDOT proposed baseline if you want to, but we'll follow along in the manual and we'll do the geometry scratch to start out. Okay, so in our feature definition toggle bar, we'll drop down there. We'll do linear, design, geometry, and then geometry scratch. Okay, then we'll also set that on here just by left clicking on the set active feature or use active feature on the left hand side. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look in the horizontal tools in this location, and we're going to pick on the lines tool, and we want the line between points. So that's how we're going to start this one out, line between points. It's going to be a geometry scratch, and we're going to go out and turn Civil Accudraw on. So right here, step 13, verify Civil Accudraw is active. So Civil Accudraw, if you don't see it down here at the bottom or anywhere on the screen, I actually have mine right here. If you don't see it, that will be under Civil Toggles. So you're still under Geometry, Civil Toggles, and Civil Accudraw. Sometimes Civil Accudraw doesn't act correct, so you have to close it out and then reenact it there. If you don't get any options out here to the right after you turn this on, so if these don't pop up, a lot of times you'll want to go back and just close this and reactivate it, and then they should show up for you. Okay, so we have Civil Accudraw going, and so that's step 13. 14, we've got the line between points tool, and we've got that one going right now. We're going to do the XY. So the XY is this one, the fourth option over. On my screen for Civil Accudraw, yours may be rearranged a little differently, but on mine it's the fourth one over, XY. So we'll left click on that, and we scroll down into our document here. It says using the heads up display, we're going to put in an XY of this location, and that should start it up in this area. Okay, so for our X, we're looking at 1604892.31. and you just want to enter after that. And enter locks that in. So if you move your mouse around, you'll see where it's going to try and start this. Okay, as long as you're inside of this terrain, you probably have it entered correctly. Okay, the Y, we're at 868.014.572. Okay, double check that, 868.014.572. Hit enter, and that's where the location is going to start for our first line that we're going to put in there. So you can move your mouse around after you hit enter to lock those in, and you'll see it locks it in at that spot. So all we have to do is, after locking it in, is left click or data point to start that, and that's step 17 here. So 18 now, we're going to give it a distance and direction. So in Civil Accudraw, we're going to come out and change that to distance direction. We're going to have the second point be 1,600 foot at a given direction. So when you come down here, you'll see on your cursor, you have a distance, and then you have a distance and direction. The first distance is for if you didn't have Civil Accudraw going, you could key that in. The second dialog box down there for distance and direction, that is your Civil Accudraw. So we want to tab down into that distance, and we'll do a 1,600, and we'll hit enter. When you do that, you can move the mouse around, and you'll see that it locks it in at 1,600. And then our direction will be south, and how you key this in is S34, and then we'll do a shift colon 57, shift colon 33, E for east. And once you get that in there, don't move the mouse around because it'll just lose that. So we want to hit enter right after that to lock it in. You'll see the two locks appear, and then you'll move the mouse around a little bit and you can see that it is locked in. Now if you didn't get it quite right, you can go ahead and accept it and then modify it after the fact. So we'll go ahead and left click to accept that out there, and you'll see that the compass appears again at the end of that line. Okay, so there's a little hint out here, directions or angles should be entered in this format, which is what we did with the colon in between. If the bearing is the microstation definition, then the alpha indicators, north, south, east, and west, should be entered with no spaces. So before the degrees or and after the seconds, you don't want any spaces in there. So just like you see in the dialog there. Okay, and we data pointed to accept that. We did that already. Now the next part we're going to do is we're going to start another line that comes down from the bottom, so down in this area, and we're going to go back up. Similar to what we used to do in Power Geopack. Okay, so we're going to select our XY again. So we'll come out here on the screen, hit the XY. The start point for this one, we'll scroll down. Here's the X and Y information given to us, so we'll try this one, 1608.412.432. Okay, we'll check that, double check that, 160.8412.432, and we'll hit enter. So that locks it in. You can see that's going to be pretty much where it here is in the picture, right down in that location. Okay, so then the next thing, the Y, we're doing 865.359.618. So we're going to double check that, 865.459, and it actually should be 359. This is why I double check it all the time. So backspace 359.618. Okay, then we'll hit enter on that, and that'll lock us in at that location. So we're locked in. Now we want to left click to accept that. Okay, so we're data pointing to accept it. Okay, that step isn't in here to data point, but hopefully you should know that you need a data point to start. Okay, the next option there is distance and direction, so we're going to switch it to that. And our distance is going to be the second distance down on my screen here, 3100, and hit enter. That locks it in. As you can see, this time when I'm drawing it, I have a compass that displays on the outside edge. Probably should have had that on this other one, but it didn't display for the first time. you may run into that. Okay, the direction here, we're doing north because we're coming from the bottom going up. So we're going north 62, colon, 57, colon, 26. And then we're going to do a W for west after that. So N 62, 57, 26, W. Okay, so we'll hit enter on that, and that will lock that in. You'll see that appear just as it does over there on the manual. And then we're going to data point to accept that location. It wants to continue to go. We're going to go ahead and deactivate Civil Accudraw. That's step 25 here. So we'll turn it off. Next, we're going to put that curve in, and we're going to do it with a spiral, arc, spiral. And then this one should have it in here, arc between elements. That's where our simple arc tool is that we always used to use, and now there's the spiral, arc, spiral. Okay. So you just have to get familiar with where everything is located. You would think a spiral might be listed under the spirals, but it's listed actually under the arc between elements underneath the arcs tools. Okay, spiral, arc, spiral. In here we're allowed to give it quite a bit of information. Are we going to do any trimming? What our radius is, what our spiral lengths are, and then we can give it a name. So we can name our curves in here. So if you wanted to, you could just call this curve 1. You can have spaces in here as well. So I can do something like this, curve 1, route 54, and hit enter. Okay, you don't have to do that. You can leave it named whatever you want there. In the manual here, we don't have Civil Accudraw going. We've got the spiral, arc, spiral tool. Go down here, our radius is 2400. So what you'll do is under the radius, key in 2400 and hit enter. That will lock that radius in for you. And then it says our spiral lengths are 333 feet. So that would be the lengths underneath here and underneath here. Once you have your dialog filled out like this, with the trim back both and everything, you can come out here. It says locate the first element. So if we look down through here, we're going to go ahead and pick our 2 lines. Okay, it says we're going to store the curve. Once the tool is defined, we're going to select each tangent. So that's almost like a step 27, but it's right in step 26. It's all together there. So we're going to left click on the first line, left click on the second line, and then it should draw us a arc in between that's got the 2400 radius, so we'll accept that. We're going to trim back both, we'll accept that. And then if you go look at that element, you'll see the 2400, and if you zoom in a little closer, you'll see the 333. Okay, you can also double check any of the northings and eastings and so forth on the lines that are tangent, so you can double check those as well. Okay, step 27, we're going to change the feature definition to no MoDOT baseline proposed. So under geometry scratch, we're going to make that change. It's an alignment, so it's no longer under linear, it's under alignment. And we've got MoDOT baseline proposed, so we'll pick that. Okay, we've got that set and it turned on. We're going to create a complex element now, and we're going to name it Route 54. You notice you can have the spaces. And we're going to create it in a southerly direction. So we're going to start up here and run it this direction, and we're going to name it Route 54. Okay, so that'll be under the horizontal tools, just like it used to be under the horizontal geometry tools. We're going to select the down arrow next to complex geometry, and we're going to complex by element. In here we've got an automatic method. We've got the maximum gap, just like it always used to be, the same tool pretty much. And we're just going to name it Route 54, hit enter. It's currently using the active feature, so we'll allow it to do that. Locate the first element, so all you have to do is move towards the top of that top line, just move towards the end of it, and you'll get the arrow pointing down. That's what you want. You'll left click in it. It will go ahead and fill in the rest of the alignment, and then all you have to do is accept the complex with a left. Okay, a little bit different coloring scheme in ORD. You've got your tangents in there, yellow, you've got a blue spiral, and then a yellow or orangish colored curve. So it's a little bit different colors there. Probably hard to tell on the screen a little bit, but okay. So we've got that information in there. We're going to change the stationing. So the stationing from the existing alignment up here at the top where it meets 54, the existing pavement, we're going to have that start at 602 plus 5949. So we're going to add a start station. So that's underneath the horizontal tools modify, and it's the first option in there, start station. And so our start station is this 602 5949, so you're going to want to type that in to your start station location. And our start distance, you can go ahead and lock that in too, because that's going to be at 0. Okay, so lock that in at 0. Start station 602 plus 59.49. Then we're going to come out here, it says locate the element. Left click on the alignment, and since we check marked the start distance at 0 plus 0, 0, we can go ahead and accept that on the screen. Then we can accept the start station, and now we have a start station. So if we select that, you'll see now a start station is available for us there. Okay. Alright, so that's the start station tool. Now we're going to do a station equation because we want most of Route 54 to be at an even station. So we're going to put a station equation at 608 plus 01.01, and we're going to change that to 608 plus 00, so that most of the rest of our alignment that we have here starts kind of on a normal station. So to do that, we're going to go back to the modify tools. We're going to add a station equation, and I like to go ahead and just fill out all the station equation information. So we've got the ahead station 608 plus 00, so that's what it's going to be. I'm going to then come out here on the screen and we'll type it in the heads up display. 608 plus 01.01, that'll be our back station. So that's what it used to be, and then our head station is going to be 608 plus 00. So we'll enter that in, it'll lock us into that spot, and we can left click. Now it says that was the back station. What's the ahead station? We typed it in up there. If you didn't, you can type it in here and accept it. Okay, so let's hit F4 on that, and then we'll left click on this alignment, and you'll see that we've got that stationing in there. If for some reason this isn't correct, you can always left click on it and change it. The other thing is a lot of folks don't know how to get rid of a station equation if they've got that in there. The way you do that is you hover over and select your alignment. Project Explorer, you can come in here, and under Project Explorer you can look at the open roads modeling, take a look at expanding out the drawing that we're in, go to alignments, MoDOT baseline proposed, your complex element Route 54, stationing, and you have an equation here. So it's a long ways down, but then you can right click remove station equation. So if you need to get rid of that, that's going to be under your Explorer tool, and expand out your alignment and get to the stationing, and then your equation is listed in there. Okay, once we have the alignment in there, the next thing we want to do is to add stationing and tick marks to the alignment, and there's a new tool to do that. So it doesn't have a GPK like I said before, so it doesn't go out and paint your stations, your tick marks, and all that. There's a tool that's in the program that does it. So it's under Open Roads Modeling, it is under Drawing Production, and it is right here under Annotations, Element Annotation. So the steps in the manual allow you to go down here and it says Open Roads Modeling, Drawing Production, Element Annotation, which is that option. Select the alignment and reset. So it's a pretty easy tool. You select the tool, come down and left click on the alignment, and then if that's the only one we want to do, we will right click or reset to complete it. And then you'll see it gives the station at the beginning, it gives your station equation, and then it gives all the remaining stations along with curve data. Okay. Next step in here is to take a look at your horizontal reports, and that'll be the last thing that we do for this exercise. So we're going to take a look at creating that report. Again, you can do it from the heads-up display. Just select the alignment itself, get your heads-up display, and you can pick on your horizontal geometry report. Okay. So that's what this is doing here. And then down here it says select the XSL report named Horizontal Alignment Review Report, which is the one that is the default for us. And then you can take a look at the setup. As you can tell right here, there's no pluses and different things. So what we would want to probably do is take a look at the tools inside the report, format options. And this is the first time you've ran one in ORD. You might have to set this up to do stationing, to do bearings, degrees, minutes, and seconds, how many places that you want to go. For our stations, we'll maybe just go 2 places. And then once you close that out, it will go ahead and update that for you. Okay. If you look at the top, you can see where it's trying to save that XML. So if you ever close this out, this is where it's being saved. You can also save it out, save as a different file. You can right click in this window and export it to Excel, create a PDF. It depends on what's installed on your machine. Okay, so that is exercise number 1 in chapter 2, doing Route 54.